25 seconds to curtain, folks.
Your favorite podcast, it's Critical Blast.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. D.W. Howard.
Hey, what's going on, man? I dug that last video there. It got me a Flash Gordon and Batman vibe all at the same time. So
Yeah, everybody loves that little video. I wish I could say I did it. But no, I paid for it, so I did my part.
cool.
How you doing tonight, man?
I am doing very, very well. I am so excited to be here and talking a little bit about Blood World, which just launched today. And just so excited to be able to talk about it, be able to have the campaign live, and to be on your show. So I'm very, very happy.
Now, you had told me before the show, this is the first time you've done a comic book of your own, but you've written comics for other people.
Correct. So I've written novels and comics for other people, but I kind of was inspired by some very great people in my life, mentors, and then my much better half who kind of pushed me to do something as well, and I was very very inspired to go ahead and do this, and so I created the company Raincross Press and to publish Blood World, which originally this whole thing was supposed to be a novel series, and I'm in the middle of a different novel series. And so I was kind of stuck with this whole setting and was not sure what I wanted to do with it. And it turned into a graphic anthology that we're working on now.
So the trailer that I played for your, that you've got on your campaign that I stole and played here, it's all over the place. I'm seeing dinosaurs. I'm seeing spaceships. Like, when is this? Where is this? What is Blood World? What's the elevator pitch on this thing?
Sure. Well, very, very high level. The best way I like to describe it is Blood World is 1 part Dune, 1 part Game of Thrones, 1 part Gattaca, and then throw in some Thundar the Barbarian with a little bit of Blade Runner, and that is pretty much what Blood World is. But if we drill down a little bit, the setting is the year 2587. So I wanted to put it out far enough that it's far future, but it's plausible. And I'm one of those writers that I think I got too much Tolkien in my blood at one point. So I sit down before I write something, especially if I'm making something up, and I write a whole history. So I wrote like 60, 70 pages of history of the world between now and 2587, because this was, like I said, was going to be a book series. And and then I was like, this is so much that I've done. And then I would waste it, not waste it, but waste it on this one story when there's all this other stuff that I've created. And I was talking to some people I know, and we ended up coming up with other stories to fit into this universe. And I've always been a big fan of comics like 2000 AD and heavy metal.
Oh, yeah, I love those.
Yeah. So I was like, this is a setting with all these different people living in it. Amongst ourselves, I'd like to tell the writers to get their juices going. I said, they're like, well, what can I write about? It's like, there's 300 billion people living in our solar system. There's 300 billion stories. Pick one and tell it, And so there are 3 main power players now. There are 3 main factions of humanity. There's what's left of our world, Terra. And our world is, if you've seen Idiocracy, it's kind of Idiocracy to the next level. So, I mean, the people left on Earth, the people who matter, fled Earth a long time ago. And the people left are living in the crumbling remains of a once great society. Meanwhile, the Earth has been subjected to plagues and nuclear war and just all the worst things that could happen. And so the Earth itself has become mutated. And those people who don't live in these spire cities have become mutated as well. So that picture you saw of the dinosaur with the mutant with the red skin, that is what humanity has become if you don't live in one of the protected cities, protecting you from the radiation and everything else.
Okay.
And so, so one of our stories is really kind of a futuristic Thundar the Barbarian story, telling the story of this barbarian named Fellhand as he moves across the wasteland of Earth and things like that. And Earth has various, biomes and things like that. And there's a lot going on here. Meanwhile, there's two main power player factions out in the solar system. One is around Jupiter and one is around Saturn. The one around Jupiter is called the Ganymede Monarchy, and religion became illegal on Earth in the 24th century, and well, actually earlier than that, the 23rd century. And the cyber rebellions happened, and so these religious extremists tried to take over the planet so they could take over the planet's computer infrastructure so they could get off planet. And they were caught and exiled, and their ships crash landed into Jupiter, and they found the Ganymede Monarchy. And so their whole system is built around transhumanism. They believe in religion, nobility, and augmenting humanity with technology. And their main opponents live in the Seoul Scientific Symposium, or S3, and they believe in augmenting humanity through genetic engineering. And so these two ideologies clash, and they're always going back to Earth and using Earth as a pawn to get old technology, to look at what the mutations are. Like S3 wants to go there and get new mutations to play around with. There's all these things going on. And so there's this dynamic between them. And so our stories tell stories. Some of them are very centered on individuals, and it's about their struggle to survive in this overall setting. And yet some of the stories that I write, are very high level about the cosmic solar system level events that are going on. And eventually down the road, these stories will mix. And so you will find that all of those pieces will come together. So
yeah, there's a lot of that you can do with that, because you don't have to focus on the big story. You can focus on, any individual living under this environment. So like you said, the barbarian story you've got there, or you can go out to Jupiter and tell a sci-fi story about somebody working under that monarchy.
Well, one of the stories, Mike Nunneley, who I know you've had on the show before, he wrote a story for us called Descent, and his story takes place in a city within S3, which is around Saturn. And these cities are amazing. I can't wait till you can see the visuals. They're 50 miles tall or more, going up into the atmosphere on the moons of Saturn. And his story is basically a murder mystery. So it's Blade World within this setting. So the setting, is there, but at its heart, it's a noir murder mystery. It's really great writing, really good stuff.
Now, I'm going to go into hard science on this for a second, but they crash land on Jupiter's a big gas giant. What do they crash into to live on?
They crash landed on the moon of Jupiter. That's why it's called the Ganymede Monarchy. So they crash landed on Ganymede. So they have populated that space around Jupiter. So the moons and a lot of the asteroid belt, the Ganymede Monarchy controls. And so the asteroid belt is almost like a demilitarized zone. But there is a bunch of stuff going on there. And I can't wait till people can start reading and start to have their theories on who is doing what to whom, because these two factions are always messing with each other, but they don't come to outright warfare because it would really be catastrophic for the solar system. But that might change eventually, and what that will look like is pretty incredible.
So you're in charge. You are the one above all in the Blood World universe here.
Mm-hmm.
Did you give the writers any direction, like you can't use these characters because you don't want somebody to inadvertently change the flow of history, or the direction of your story?
Sure. Well, first I gave them the setting and I told them what was going on from a very high level, and then I let them pitch me ideas. So I will say that all of the characters that they are writing are new creations that they came up with themselves. But they always ask me, how does this work? So like if they want to know how the technology works, a great example, one wanted to know how space travel worked, because a big thing in my setting is they've mastered gravitational technology. And so I explained to them that the way the ships work is they don't so much get pushed as they fall. So they have grav field generators that generate a gravity field in front of the ship or to the side of the ship so that the ship is always moving and following in that direction. Basically, that's the way space travel works. So, I gave them those concepts, and then they would come back to me with ideas, and I'd read their stories. And I'll be honest with you, there were a couple times where I said, I don't think that's going to work, but a lot of it was just really great stuff from some very creative people, which added to the setting itself, gave me new ideas. And I have to give a shout out to my art director, Jeff Bracey, because he's kind of my second in Raincross, and we talk all the time, and we'll sit and talk for hours. And so we actually have, 5-6 years worth of story planned. We just have to get there, but then we got lots of ideas of how this is all going to come together, but it's really exciting stuff.
So there'll be multiple anthologies, it sounds like, but it also sounds like you've got a main narrative. That
correct
is there. Some of these stories are the over story, and the other stories are like, hey, also happening in all of this are these things here. How can people tell which are the driver stories and which ones are the supportive stories?
Well, I think part of it is going to be, we want to leave people a little bit guessing, because they want to see. But I think what you're also going to see is that some people's stories are going to have a natural wrap to it. Not that their stories aren't important, but say, for instance, I think Mike wouldn't mind me sharing this. His story Descent is really kind of a self-contained story. It will have a beginning, a middle, and an end because it's following this murder mystery that he's writing. And when it's done, that character may pop up again later as a supporting character, but that really is his main narrative. And so, whatever Mike wants to do once we finish that story up, it will probably be with something else. Versus a story, one of the stories I write is a story that's titled Family, and it's multiple arcs. But the reason it's called Family is because it's the queen of the Ganymede monarchy and her uncle and her cousin and their relationship and how it's going to affect Ganymede space and everything that's going on with them. But it gives you a look into the Ganymede society as well. But really the story is family centered on that royal family. And that's where Dune and Game of Thrones kind of comes in, because it really is a cutthroat fight for that throne and for power within the solar system. So
yeah, and you can tell, you can tell a larger story full of self-contained stories, especially in comics. So the example I always go back to on this is 1980s Batman and Detective, where every issue or every 2 issues was a self-contained adventure story. But throughout all of that, there was the whole Bruce Wayne trying to adopt Jason Todd, Nocturna battling him in this court case for custody. The larger story that you didn't have to know all of it when you were reading just the one chapter.
Plus, the thing that I always loved about those stories also is that Gotham is a character in and of itself, and that's kind of the way I see these 3 main locations we have. And obviously we have other locations and other stories that are being told as well. But the 3 main locations are Earth, Seoul Scientific Symposium, and Ganymede, and so S3's main moon is Io. Titan, excuse me.
Right.
The main moon for Ganymede monarchy is obviously Ganymede, and then there's Earth, like I said before. And so, these settings, these cultures are characters in and of themselves, and so you're going to get exposed to that. And I want people to be hungry to know more, and I want to share that as well. I want to share that information with people, So it's like I think in the campaign video, we're not only giving you just stories, we're giving you little snippets. So we're going to give you like advertisement. One of the things we're going to be in there is like a 1-page advertisement for a matchmaking service in S3. What does that look like? Just so you're like, how does that work in a society where everything is about altering genes and coming up with the right gene partner? What does a matchmaking service advertisement look for? It's like just that flavor and things like that. So
yeah, I could imagine it being like, with CRISPR technology and the outputting of a DNA string, somebody who's 500 years in the future could just sit down and says, what do you want? I want GATC, GATC, CATG, CATA, and just type the string in, throw it out there, says, yeah, here's your match. Unfortunately, she doesn't want you.
Yeah.
But
and not only that, I mean, and kind of one of the thing I planned, it doesn't even have to be one person. If you want multiple partners and combine together to form one baby. So I was like, when I was writing this, I was like, I'll give you a little sneak preview. I'm inclined to give stuff away, but I don't mind giving this one away. I put in a male, a female, and a nondescript partner all coming together on this advertisement to form an offspring, and that's what's going on, so for this thing, and it's like, find your blood match today, for the thing. So
A genetic soup.
Yeah, exactly.
So folks, if you like this very futuristic sci-fi, and it sounds like it's still all us. We haven't alerted the Vulcans to our ability to travel within the solar system yet. So it's still just us moving next door. We just kind of went a little bit out.
Yep.
Check the link, bottom of the video, first line in the description right below the video there. Click on it. It will take you to Indiegogo. It will not take you away from this video. Opens up in a whole new window. So you can still hear David talk about what's going to go on here. We're going to bring the screen up right now because it just launched today. So we want to, we are at $184. This is Indiegogo. Let me refresh this because I got to pull back the curtain on the side of my little mini studio here. Because I want to, this is not Kickstarter. Kickstarter automatically refreshes for me. Indiegogo does not. Yes. Okay. So we are at 184, 2%. I want to see a different number by the end of this show. And I don't want it to be smaller. Whoever was in here, don't refund. I want you to get a bigger number if we can here.
And I guess the first thing I should say is the reason that I went with Indiegogo is just because of our genre. I kind of went and I researched what kind of genres sell on Indiegogo versus Kickstarter, and it seemed like this genre, there was more of it on Indiegogo, so that's why we decided to go with that crowdfunding.
This tells me you have no boobs in your comic.
No, unfortunately not. So
that's where you would have gone to Kickstarter otherwise. So ahoy, Tank Bear, glad to see you out there.
Nice.
So why did you call it Blood World? What's the meaning behind the title?
So originally the story, the novel I was going to write is, the character that I was going to write the novel about is in one of the stories in the graphic anthology, but it was about a group of covert operatives and assassins within S3 called Blood Wraiths. And they're called Blood Wraiths because they have the ability to real-time change their DNA, their genetic makeup, to grow weapons or armor or even wings, all sorts of things. But when they do that, each time they do it, they have a chance of damaging the genetic code. And if they do enough damage, they basically melt into biological goo. They die. And so they have a shelf life. And there's a lot more to that, obviously. But so that was the original story. So, and then the name of the novel is going to be Sanguis Mundi, so Blood World in Latin. And, but then if you look closely at the Blood World logo, the little dash between Blood and World is actually a double helix.
Yeah,
so,
I saw that.
Yeah. So, I started to think about it and what this is really about. And this really is about the future of humanity. What is going to dominate? So not only is there the double helix there, if you look even closer on the Blood World logo, there is circuitry there. So is genetic engineering going to dominate and the mutations that run wild on Terra? Or is it going to be the transhumanism of the Ganymede? Or is it going to be some combination of the two? And so it's about the future of humanity, thus, in our blood, our basic lineage, our genealogy, how we are going to progress as a species. So Blood World.
Yeah. I mean, get some nanites made of the basic recombinant DNA particles that rebuild themselves over and over. You've got
yeah, there's so much you could do with
nightmare.
It. Yeah, it really is. So I mean, that's really what it is. And this is a piece of art by one of our artists, Brian Wilson, and this is for Mike Nunneley's story Descent. So this is in one of the S3 hub cities. And it is really, really cool. And Brian, one of the things I also wanted to do with this project and going on into the future is one of the things I always loved about 2000 AD is it showcased new talent. and broke new ground. And then some of that talent left 2000 AD and started their own stuff.
Yeah.
I would love for people who write or draw for me to get jobs and in this industry and go on to bigger and better things. Just don't forget us when you go. And I think Brian is one of these talents. He's a young, hungry artist who I think is incredibly talented. He also did the cover for us as well. He's really, really good. He's out of the Pacific Northwest. So
yeah, anthologies are great for getting discovered because, you know, not to denigrate the anthology, but anthology editors are hungry for filler material. We need pages filled in here. Bring us talent, bring us, you know, creativity.
exactly.
And if you've got it, you've got it's much easier to find a slot in an anthology than it is to convince a publisher to give you a -- issue.
Yes,
Because
absolutely. I agree.
a lot less risk.
Now this is so this is art by our art director Jeff Bracey, and he is he's actually illustrated 2 of the stories, but this is his own unique story. He's the one who came up with the concept for Fellhand and the mutated barbarians of Earth who are living outside of what remains of, you know, the once great Terran Federation. And so he came up with this drawing, and I think this is just incredibly fantastic. It really is. It kind of pops right off the page. I think it's great. So
Yeah, it does. That looks like it would make a great blacklight poster.
actually, one of the things we're doing is we are, besides obviously the book and digital tiers, and I could talk more about that later, but we are offering metallic and canvas prints as well as posters. And this is one of the images we're offering on metallic and canvas prints.
Yeah,
So,
that's going to look fantastic.
yeah. Actually, I could take down off the wall. This is one of the samples I got. This is a metallic print of our cover. So,
Oh, very nice. Yeah, it's a very Blade Runner-esque cover there.
yeah. And this is great.
I mean, that looks like Rachel in the center.
Yeah, that is the queen. That's Queen Elizabeth Arnef of the Ganymede monarchy. So, and then on either side of her are her cousin and her uncle. So the cousin is Baron Chabot, and her uncle is Baron or Duke Evgeny. So, and one of them is bad and one of them is good. I'll let you decide. So
We'll have to figure that one out in the story.
Exactly.
Yeah, this does look great. I got to agree with you there. The chat is really loving this. Let's hope that their
Awesome.
wallets are supporting their statements.
And
how big are we looking at of a book here?
The first issue, believe it or not, is originally was planned to be 80. It's kind of creeped a little bit, so we're probably looking between 84 and 88 pages total.
Okay,
so
that's a healthy size for an anthology book.
And we're offering digital and physical, and the physical copies we're offer are going to be bound like your typical trade. So there'll be cardstock covers with glossy print pages on the inside. So and
Gotcha.
perfect bound. So
$10 for the PDF version on this one. I assume it's a PDF.
It is, but we're offering something else. Our first 2 tiers are digital. The first tier is digital. It's $10, but not only are you going to get Blood World, so 80 plus pages of content there, but we have a number of independent creators who want to support us and very graciously donated their books to us. So you get a choice of 3 independent comic titles to go with it. So for $10, you will get 3 digital comic books plus Blood World. So you get over 140 pages of content for $10.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the $13 tier, go ahead.
The $13, yes, the $13 tier, you will get everything I just described in tier 1, plus all of the writers on Blood World. So including myself, we've donated one of the comic books we've done. And in Mike Nunneley's case, he's donated several. So you will get 7 other comic books as well. So for $13, you will get Blood World at 80 plus pages, plus 10 other digital comic books. So
that's a lot of reading material.
Yeah, you will get over 300 pages worth of digital content for $13. So,
okay. So, getting the first physical, is this pretty much the basic book here? $35 for.
So $35, you'll get the digital tier. So you'll get Blood World digital plus 3 free indie books plus a physical copy of the book as well. So. And
that's what digital art.
Yep, and digital art. And we also are going to have variant covers as stretch goals. So once we meet those stretch goals, we've got some plans. And I can unveil our first stretch goal. So once we meet, we get funded. Our first stretch goal is, and we've already gotten a signed agreement from him. So I'm blanking right now. Oh my gosh.
No.
Let me look up his name because I know him.
Should I scroll down? Will it be down here?
No, because I haven't put it up there because we have to meet the funding.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks. This will be a stretch goal that you'll know about for anybody else.
It will be so Ben Templesmith of 30 Days of Night of 30 Days of Night. Once we are fully funded, the first stretch goal, we will have a version of the physical copy available with a Ben Templesmith exclusive cover. So,
oh wow. Okay, that's a big get.
Mm-hmm. And we're in a talk with a couple other well-known artists for other stretch goals for other covers as well. So,
what's your delivery estimate on this? I know I see August 2023. So, are you? You've got a lot of art. You're obviously well into production.
Correct. Once we are fully funded, we need to fund the rest of the, get the rest of the art done. August is my playing it safe goal. I would love to have all of this out by June or July. That was my goal. So basically, I've told the artists to be on standby. And once I have the funding to finish the art, I would like them to finish up the rest of the book by May. And then we'll get the book together and printed and out to everybody by then. So.
Okay. And you've got an interesting goal here. First of all, it's a flexible goal, which is scary because you just said as soon as we reach funding, and I hate to break it to you, but at $184, you've reached funding.
I understand. And if you go down in the description, one of the things I was kind of up in the air about this one, and I still am, to be honest with you. And I described down below that we did do flexible. And I'm offering refunds to anybody who wants it, but anybody who would stay with us, even though if we don't reach the funding, but we are flexible, I am committed to honoring their order when we get it done, because this is going to get done no matter what. So I don't care how many times I have to try, what I have to do. This book will be created. I will honor your order. But obviously, if we don't get funded and you say, can I have my money back? We will do that as well. So
the other thing I was going to say was it's an interesting number. And I've seen interesting numbers before, usually out of Canada or Australia, because the currency conversion. But you're not. You're $9,200. That's a very precise number. That's not all zeros at the end.
I estimated, and I've kind of gone through, and I know what I need to finish paying everyone for all the art. And that's obviously the biggest expense I have left. But I also knew what I would needed to do for printing costs to get, physical copies out to people and everything. So I ran all the numbers, and I know what the bare minimum was for me to beat all that and then have some wiggle room. And I came up with $9,200, which is a large amount. But I thought that was the fairest way to do it, because I want to be upfront with people and transparent with everybody and know exactly what we're doing. And that we're on the level, as far as what we want to do and deliver to people. It's why I wanted to give people the most value for their money as far as the two first digital copies as well, because I know times are hard for everybody, and we're asking for you to support us and give us money for our passion project. So I want to make sure that everybody out there gets something out of it, because we're all in this together. And I think we all love comics and independent comics as well. So I want to make sure people are getting good value for their money. So.
Indeed. The thing in your favor here is that you don't have a lot of tiers to confuse the issue or to, say, oh my God, another cover. You got the four. You got the two digitals and you got two physicals. So we didn't look at this 94th Blood Wraiths pack, which is priced accordingly at $94. There's symbology here that's story related, I'm guessing.
It's real world and story related. So this is kind of an homage to a group of people that have been really supportive of me. A couple of them gave me seed money for the company to get started and legal advice. I'm a West Point graduate, and I graduated in the class of 94. And so my classmates have been very helpful. And so, and we are, all these years later, we all are in contact with each other and supportive, and it's a very close group of people. And so I came up with this tier, and there's only 94 of these options available. And if you buy this option, you get the physical copy. You get all of the digital comic books, including the 10 free comic books that were donated by various people. You get a canvas print. You get a sticker pack. And then I designed something special. So the Blood Wraiths, like I said, are a covert, an espionage and assassination group. So I created a military style patch based on the Blood Wraiths for the 94th Blood Wraith. So it's like the patches we wear on our uniforms, and you'll get one of those as well. So we had those patches made. So
very nice. Now this image here, this shows the books that are available to pick from.
Correct.
You get this. So you got Crossover Division. I know that book. I know a lot of these books.
Yep. So those are the 12. So you could pick one from each of those lines with our basic tier. And then the 7 books below are all the books that were donated by writers on Blood World.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I was looking for the patch. I know I've seen the image because you sent me the entire press kit. I don't have that open.
I don't have that. I can pull it up if you'd like and share it. Share my screen if you'd like to.
Yeah, share anything you got, because you got a lot more art than what's on the campaign here.
Yeah, let me find it real quick. It'll just take me a second. So
while you're doing that, I will scroll back up to the top of the page, and I'm going to hit that reload button, folks. Now, don't embarrass me, okay? Because this. I know, y'all like to mess with me till the last 5 minutes of the show. I get it. Okay, yeah. Oh, see, RJ's not doing nothing for nobody. Nobody's watching. Nobody's doing that. We have watchers.
There we go. So I just shared my screen. If you can add it. Yeah. So this is in an actual physical patch form. So
that's cool. So it's going to be a round patch.
Mm-hmm.
I like that because those are cheaper to sew on than irregular edges. They don't charge me as much when I put them on my jacket.
Yeah, and they're just cool little things. There's cool little details on there, so you can see that we got the little, double helixes between the name of the unit, and then the motto of the unit below is "Death Rides Tonight." And it's just the kind of thing that we would have in the actual military. And I thought it was cool. It's a cool little touch, and I hope people will like that. So, and
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I would like to eventually have those available. So, we'll see what happens as far as the campaign goes. But if the 94s sell out, the first thing I'll do is pop some champagne, because we'll be in a really good place. And the second thing I do is probably make those available as a stretch goal for just anybody to purchase, direct from us.
Yeah, because it's a $94 tier, and that means that 94 squared, that'd be $8,836. You would be almost funded.
Yes, it would. So I would be out here dancing in California. So
yeah. Now, are you worried at all? Because 9,200, that's still a big goal for a first comic.
It definitely is. And I would be lying to say that I haven't had sleepless nights about it. And this is the big project that we've bitten off. But you know what? One way or the other, Blood World will happen. I want it to happen now and this campaign. But even if it doesn't, I will come back for a second bite of the apple, because I'm committed to this, and I've got a whole group that's committed to it. And, I think once we get out there and get exposure, people will really like it. So I want to build the momentum for it and get going, and we'll see what happens, but I'm staying positive right now and thinking positive and going forward with it, because I think we got a lot to offer people. So
just keep relaunching it until it succeeds. If it doesn't the first, we want it to succeed on the first, but there's a lot of campaigns. I'm out on Indiegogo. I'm like, you're launching this book. I remember this book from 4 years ago. It's like, yeah, we're trying to get it to fund. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that happen here. I want to see this one funded right away. Can you show us a little bit of a taste of art from each of the stories so we can see a range of the styles that are?
Absolutely. So let me see what I got going on here.
If you want me to take your screen down while you pull something up, so I don't
if you could do that,
inadvertently dock something that you might not want to see,
and I will pull something else up. So
your anime folder or anything like that nobody needs to see.
You've seen something from Family or from the Descent, and you've seen something from let's see. You see something for Descent. You see something from Fellblade. Let's see what I got going on here. I could show.
Because you got, I'm going to guess about 5 stories in here.
We've got six main stories and some other things. So, here's one thing I could pull up for you real quick. So let's add this. So this is not a story per se, but it is it give you a little flavor of something else we're doing. Let me get rid of stop sharing and present, share screen, window. There we go.
All right.
So this is another one of those, kind of world flavor type things. And this is a blueprint for a battle suit from the Ganymede monarchy. And there's lots of little details and stuff in there. But, we grew up in that era where, one of the things I would read all the time are the Star Wars manuals, and shows you all all of that stuff. So I would love for there to be a whole book of this stuff, of all the technology. And so I worked with an artist on this, and we came up with this, and we're going to have more of this going on in the future. But these are one of the things that we're offering as far as that's concerned. So that's kind of like a flavor piece for the Ganymede monarchy and for the family story. And then
what this also tells me is that there are mechs involved in this universe, and people love their mechs.
Yes, and a variety of different mech classes. So and like I said, I'm one of those anal retentive people that loves writing, and so when people are like, hey, can you give us some specs on the technology of the Ganymede monarchy? I'm like, sure, I'll whip something up for you. And 25 pages later, it's like there it is. Let's see what else we got. Some of the I could show you some of the other art. Not all of it is colored yet, but let's see. Here we go. I'll bring this up. So this, I will stop sharing that, and I will share something else.
And I will remind everybody that after the show, be sure to hop on over to the mic stand where Mike Walters will be going over the niche news of the day, everything happening in comics, manga, and professional wrestling. I know, but it all goes together somehow. And tonight he will be going over the new comic book releases for the next week. So be sure to hit that up so you know what to spend your money on at the comic shop, because we do want to keep supporting our local comic shop guys. Just buy indie while you're there. Just buy indie. Oh, now this is nice. This looks like a Japanese, I don't know the word for it, tapestry thing, but I'm sure there's a unique word for it.
Sure. And so one of the places on Earth, one of the stories that takes place is in a Japanese themed area, which is much different than some of the other areas, and is evolved differently. Once humanity was separated again, they've evolved to adapt to life on Earth in a different way. And so that story is really about the struggle between traditional Japanese life as it is in 2587 and a new breed of, a new generation who wants to do a different way. And what is that looking like in 2587? What has survived of Japanese culture versus what has changed? And it's a very interesting story written by David Taylor II. So really good stuff.
Oh, I love that guy. He used to come on our show, and we would do recaps of the Flash and the CW shows. So I haven't seen David in a while. I'm glad to hear his name involved in something. Interestingly, what you said that poked out at me was Japanese themed, which means this isn't necessarily Japan.
Well, I will tell you it is Japan. However, because of the changes in Earth, there's been a mass migration of cultures. And so Japan has seen a number of influx because a lot of the world's oceans have disappeared. And so people have migrated over the centuries. And
Japan got
so,
bigger.
yeah, so there are quite a few different cultures, but they've retained the flavor of Japan, so it's a really interesting story. I don't want to give away too much, but I think it's really amazing. And like I said, it's this clash of generations and cultures and the old and the new in a far future science world. So it's really an amazing story. It's called Into the Bloodlands. So
I'm un, automatically thinking of Samurai Jack, that sort of a thing, because ripped from the past of Japan and thrown into the far far future. That whole clash of culture and science and technology and mutated beings and everything. It's what made the show fun.
absolutely. And I think it's going to be, I think people are really going to like that one as well. And so there are two main stories which will take place completely on Earth, but they're completely different from each other. So here's one story about regular quote unquote human beings living around a spire, but they're the people who live in the spire. And then there are people who live outside the spire. And so there's this gentrification of society. And then there's the clash between traditional and non-traditional, old and new. And this is living in the same planet, the same way, versus all the way on the other side of the planet, you have Felhand the Barbarian, living in the toxic waste. So Terra, Earth has become this very diversified place, even more so than it is now as far as the biosphere and everything else that's going on.
So, whereas you might expect some people to say as Earth progresses in the future, it will become more homogenized as, everyone mixes and commingles and, we just kind of all become the same. You've done it to where, no, things fractured and schismed, both ecologically and sociologically, to where things are even more diverse and starkly so from today.
Absolutely. And I love playing with that idea. And I think that especially S3, who is so much about genetics, they're the ones that have become homogenized because it's been one society going from the same gene pool and they're picking the best and everything. And you're going to come find out that they keep coming back to Earth to refresh their genetics, to find those mutations because they're necessary for their survival. So
absolutely. That's what the genes are for.
Yep.
I had a question about this now. Have you ever watched Fritz Lang's Metropolis?
Yes, I have.
Okay, that was one of the other things that you had me thinking of here, because you talk about people living in the spires, and that's where all the wealthy live. And of course, all the the dregs of society are stuck on the ground. It's been used before over and over, since Metropolis. I asked Tim Truman about that when we were talking about Hawkworld, and he's like, "I never thought of that before, but yes, it's Metropolis." They had the same thing. You live high or you live low.
What's interesting is all of us have written these different stories, and we didn't set out to do this. So we all didn't sit down and say, hey, we want to tell stories exploring this social theme. But one of the interesting things, once you looked at all the stories and they were done and they started being drawn and everything, is that one of the central themes we have here is really about the class of social classes, the clash between classes. So what happens, and it's almost like that's a central tenet of humanity, is that you're going to naturally have different social classes grinding up against each other, and there's tension and struggle there, and it's such a cool thing to explore. So
do you have an end in sight for your superstructure
as far as the society itself?
Well, I mean, you've got your main Blood World story, or is it just this is the forever state of things, and we will always be telling these stories, or do you have something that's definitely going to get to a final point where things are saved or ruined?
I do have I guess you could say general arcs in mind. So where I see all these stories leading to a nexus, and then there will be, for lack of a better term, a crisis type event, although it's not going to be a crisis event, but there will be an event that's going to encompass everybody in the solar system. And then people will, the stories will expand out again, and then everyone will come back together again, and there'll be another, focal point type story. And I've got 2 or 3 of those in mind. But it really depends on how people react to this and how people love it. But, I see Blood World as a living universe. Like I said, there are 300 billion people and all these stories to be told, where I could see it growing and people taking it and running on their own. One of the things I would love to do, I'm a big fan of Warhammer 40K and Games Workshop, and they have something called Black Library, where people tell stories within the 40K universe. One of the things I'd love to do eventually is reach out to young writers and say, I would love for you to write a novel that we publish in Blood World. Here's the setting. Pitch me an idea. Go write a novel. We'll publish it for you. Those types of things. That
sounds like a great idea. So this is like the Dragonlance world. It's just you can write as many stories as you want in it. There's no end in sight.
Absolutely.
So people, if I haven't said it enough, the link to this Indiegogo, it's in the chat. It's on the banner. If you want to be able to click something, it's right below the video, especially if you're coming in watching this later. We're no longer live. It's still right below the video. You can click it anytime. Go throw some money at this thing. Well, I'm going to refresh it one more time, and I'm just so glad I don't have a drum roll sound effect because I would overuse it. But let me reload this one more time. Come on, somebody show me something. I hang my head in abject shame.
I'm sure it will happen. So it's late.
I have failed you.
So
on a launch day, I have failed you.
I will say, though, for everybody out there, like I said, $10 is our lowest tier. And for $10, you will get over 140 pages of content. I just don't think you could beat a deal like that. So, give us a chance and we will surprise you, and pleasantly so, I think. So
everybody go get 900 of your closest friends to put $10 to this thing. So
that's really the way I was looking at it. So,
yeah.
Yep.
All right. David, thank you so much for coming on tonight and sharing Blood World with us. This sounds fun. This is a whole universe of storytelling. And it's varied enough that if you want to tell a barbarian tale, or if you want to tell a science fiction tale, or you want to tell an alien monarchy kind of tale, all the genres are there to be used. Ply your story. If you've probably already got a story that has one of these tropes going, find out how you can ply it to fit Blood World. Reach out to David and become part of the next anthology.
Absolutely. I mean, I will say that I have we got to walk before we run, but I have lots of plans. Like, one of the things is I eventually want to launch a manga on this. So if you're an aspiring manga writer, I've already got an artist that I know who has already said that they're willing to draw it. Pitch me an idea, and we'll see what happens with it. So, because I think that a manga in this style would be, in this universe, would be perfect as well, and novels and everything else. And I think that this is something, 2000 AD and heavy metal are British. So let's do an American 2000 AD and let's get it going. So
there you go. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here tonight. We don't have a show without you guys. We're just a podcast falling in the woods otherwise. And of course, as always, while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.